What is the difference between life expectancy and longevity? So this is an interesting question because if you start looking at people's obsession with living a long time, I mean, there's people who will literally freeze their brains to live forever with the hopes of this emerging technology. But today I'm going to share with you kind of an interesting take on how you can live a really long life full of health and vitality and then die fast when it's time to die. Because what I've learned in working with, my clinics worked with over 70,000 people, thousands of patients who I've worked with directly in their 90s and hundreds. What I've learned is that the health span that you have and the amount of vitality is far more important than just this number on a page. So your biological age, I'm going to show you the real difference in this life expectancy versus longevity just by lining up your health span and your lifespan. It will change the way that you look at everything. I'm going to show you in this video exactly how you can turn off what are called senescent cells. These are the zombie cells that can cause cancer, they can cause inflammation. They also lead to a lot of suffering that's unnecessary with some of the new treatments that are emerging. And then I'll also show you 2 exercises that you can do right away to start increasing your health span, which will in turn increase your lifespan. So let's jump in. Okay, so life expectancy is just a number. So I don't know if you've ever applied for a life insurance policy. Well, what we do at East West Health is we give you a life assurance policy. And so with a life assurance policy, what that means is you can start enjoying the benefits of this policy before you die. Because a life insurance policy, they're looking at life expectancy and they're looking at these tables and they're predicting the age at which you'll die. And you can get a really good premium. I just went through the process again. I don't know why my wife keeps wanting me to get on these life insurance policies, but should I be nervous? Okay, no, it's actually, I think it's a smart thing to do because there's ways that you can work on your finances better through some of these policies, these vehicles. All right, I'm not a financial advisor, so that's not financial advice by any means, but the life assurance policy is when your health is improving every single year and you're feeling so good that you actually are enjoying the benefits of the investments that you're making into your health. And my goal is to help you get healthier every single year of your life. So you look back and you have another birthday, take another trip around the sun, and you look back and you say, all right, I'm healthier subjectively. I feel better, I sleep better, I have more energy, I'm getting stronger, I look better. I want those to be critical for you, but then I want to run the labs because I get skeptical. I'm like, yes, a lot of people tell me they feel better and they look better, but what do the labs show? And so every year, if we can help you do that, that's what longevity is. Life expectancy is it's a variable. It's based on what other people, the age in which they're living, it's based on the medical history that they have, but it's not the best predictive factor. It's kind of like the genes. If you've ever heard of epigenetics, my friend Steve D'Annunzio, he goes deep into the epigenetic factors and how it relates to consciousness and how it relates to our lifespan. But the thing that happens with epigenetics is these are the environmental factors that influence the genes that get expressed. So imagine that you're playing cards, and maybe you're a poker player. I don't even know how to play it, but just use the analogy. Hopefully I don't mess it up. But you get dealt a hand of cards, and let's say you have 11 cards and you're like, wow, I got the ace, I got the king, I got the queen. Whereas somebody on the other side of the table, they get like the 2s and the 3s, and they maybe have a queen, and they're like, okay, and I got the joker. But they know how to play with the hand they're dealt. And they beat you, even though everything was favored for you to win the game. Now, this is what epigenetics can do, is if you can understand the environmental influences that can threaten your lifespan and your health span, and you can remove those triggers, then you can start expressing genes in a whole new way. And that's where I love peptides, because what peptides do is they selectively dock on cells and they turn on genes that you want expressed. Now, one of the things that happens as our genetic material is transferring information cycle after cycle. I mean, you're losing millions of cells just watching this video right now. But what happens as the cell span, so every cell has approximately 40 or 50 cycles in which it will replenish itself. And this is called the Hayflick limit for you science nerds out there. And what Leonard Hayflick discovered is that every cell in our human biology has about 40 or 50 life cycles, and then the cells go senescent. And this is the big risk that we have when it comes to life expectancy and longevity, is how many senescent cells have you accumulated in your body? And actually there's a really phenomenal test from a company called Sapphire. So what Sapphire, the scientist, did there, and I was able to meet one of the lead researchers, and she's a brilliant PhD, and they have a way of testing the amount of senescent cells that are built up in your system. And as we ran this test on several clients in the room, we started to see patterns emerging where patients who had issues like with kidney disease or with cardiovascular complications, they had accumulated far more senescent cells. So senescent cells are like what are called zombie cells. And when that cell lineage dies, it sends these secretomes that tell the rest of your body, hey, you're not safe. You're in an environment that's not healthy anymore. And so the goal of Sapphire is to predict what treatments and what interventions actually work really well. And what most longevity doctors have used is a drug called rapamycin. And rapamycin, it was discovered in the Easter Islands, and they realized that the worms and even fruit flies live longer there than anywhere else, almost like twice as long. And they started looking at why, and they found that this antimicrobial agent called rapamycin actually suppressed the immune system just a little bit and allowed them to withstand more environmental factors, and they had fewer senescent cells. Now, that didn't necessarily translate into human trials, but what they use rapamycin for now is if you have an organ transplant, it suppresses your immune system and turns off the noise so that your body's immune system doesn't start attacking that organ that you had transplanted. But I've always been skeptical of this because I saw my clients who are on it, I watched their white blood cell count decline year after year, even when they're using a microdose, maybe every 2 weeks or once a month, or a lot of them are using it once a week. So I looked for a better way, because I don't want you to have a suppressed immune system. Actually, to the contrary, I want you to have a really intelligent, robust immune system that's not going to go rogue one way or the other. And so there's a peptide called Fox04. And if you look at the body's natural rhythms of clearing out senescent cells, Fox04 is one of the pathways that triggers a condition called autophagy, or when your body basically eats its own cells. The cells that are underperforming, they get recycled, and it's a really important part of your lifestyle. So this Fox04 therapy and this new peptide that you can use today, all you need to do is go to agelessfuture.com and talk to one of my healthspan assessment experts, and they will find out if it's right for you or not. But this Fox04 peptide, what it does is it clears out senescent cells, and it gives you some of the same benefits as if you were fasting or exercising. And one thing that you want to do if you're using this is make sure you have a window of fasting where you're in a caloric deficit on the days that you do it. You don't want to do like real heavy lifting or high levels of protein on that day, because you want things cleared out. But you can do these long distance exercises. So Fox04 is a great strategy if you're looking to clear senescent cells. The second and probably the most powerful thing that I've seen in maintaining this very viable, healthy cellular expression so that you remove that epigenetic factor and you can contribute to your longevity is stem cells. Now, stem cell therapy, yes, controversial, and some of you may be like, oh, I know everything about stem cells. Well, I can tell you there's so many new things coming out, but right now the stem cells that we can use are from umbilical cord tissue, and these umbilical cord stem cells seem to have an ability to remodel the cellular expression. When you get around young people, how do you feel? Well, some of you get annoyed. I do too sometimes, but generally speaking, kids are like very curious, and they do things that are wild, and it's fun. I mean, I love seeing 3-year-olds, they start bopping their head like to music, and you see 5-year-olds start articulating more, and they ask question after question after question. Well, by being around my kids, for example, they make me feel younger. And that's no different when you introduce these young stem cell populations into your body. It resets the way that your own stem cells start to proliferate. And so with the Hayflick limit, one of the ways you can get on top of this is by utilizing stem cell therapy. And we like our clients doing stem cell therapy every 6 months to replenish that, what's called stem cell exhaustion. And they notice such a big difference mentally. They notice that they have better ability to build muscle, they recover better, they sleep better. And so there's all these benefits just by making the body young. And then if you use Fox04, this is something that you want to do maybe once a quarter and just clear out those old cells. And then the final thing that you can do is exercise. And so when you do mitochondrial sprints, so it's a 20-minute exercise, and ask each one of you, get on your treadmill. All right, the treadmill is like the worst. But whatever you have, a stationary bike, ideally you'll be on a mountain bike, or you'll be running on a trail, you'll be out in nature. It's so much better for your brain to exercise outside. You can even grab a plate. I carry around a 35-pound plate from my gym when I take my dogs for a walk so I don't push my old dog too hard. And it's a really good workout. After about 3 miles, your arms are burning. You got big old forearms. It helps all the way, in all the ways. But exercise these mitochondrial sprints where you go 5 minutes, just like a moderate pace, mild to moderate, and then you go like these nice, fast, 10-second all-out sprints. And you do that for 20 minutes, and you have basically 4 sprints in the middle there. And it's a great way to produce autophagy. So if you want to really extend your life and capture the health as you go throughout your life, and then die fast when it's your time, these 3 things can literally change everything. So just to recap, you want to think, okay, how do I clear out senescent cells? And you can test the senescent cells through the company Sapphire. We'll provide a link for you in the show notes. But Fox04 is one of the most powerful, safest ways you can clear out senescent cells. The second thing you want to do is replenish your stem cells. So using these donor umbilical cord stem cells, very safe. We've done over 25,000 patients with these treatments, and that just resets that epigenetic factor. And then the third thing are these mitochondrial sprints. Get out and exercise every day, but make sure you go all out at least once a week. And you do that 4 different cycles, and it will change everything. So if this is of interest to you at all, I'm going to ask you to watch my video on why women are outliving men in longevity. Dudes, if you're watching this, then we got to bridge that gap. Our ladies want us around, believe it or not. So click on the link below, and I'll see you in the next video.